Now again, the thing to remember is that all three are significantly related to class attendance. So we have our diagram here, and what does it tell us, right? So you can see the lines, right? The direct lines going from weather, hair day, and emotional well-being, right? The pointer's going right to meditation class attendance. That means each has a direct effect on your attending meditation class. And we could see by the P less than 0.05, all of them have a significant effect on your attending meditation class. But let's consider this from a practical standpoint. Suppose, the weather, it's significant, but, you don't really care that much about it. It's the least important of all three. Right? Sometimes you like the clouds, sometimes you do like the sun. Right? So it's a small effect, a small effect on whether you go or not. The hair has a bigger influence than the weather, right? Because the weather's just small, so a good or bad hair day is significant with, say, like moderately important to you, so it has a medium-sized effect. But this emotional well-being part, right? This is the most important thing to you. When you wake up, if you feel good, you might not go, but if you feel like you need class, that has a large effect on your going to meditation class. Maybe the effect is so large, right, that the hair day and the weather don't matter, right? Maybe you wake up, and depending how you feel, if you feel, like you need it badly enough, you don't care about the hair or the weather, right? That means that the large effect size is so great that it makes the other significant variables almost inconsequential. So you could see all are significant, but that's not the whole story, right? You could be significant and almost not matter, or be significant and matter more than anyone else or any other variable. Right? So that's what we're saying about magnitude. It's an important dimension, often not expressed, but we're going to express it. Right? So when we look at magnitude, small effect size, medium effect size, or large effect size. Like I said, magnitude may be indicated by other factors, but that's how we'll conceptualize them here. So if you want to put it into a mnemonic, you could say the three dimensions of a variable relationship relate, right? So you have a relationship, so in a relationship you have to savor daily miracles, right? So in a variable relationship, look for S, right? Significance, D, directionality, and M, miracles, right? So the three dimensions of a relationship to look at. Lastly, this is a more technical statistical issue, right? So when we do the test, you'll see you could either set up the test and press OK and the test is run, or you could set up the statistical test and press paste and it saves the syntax, right? So save the syntax, which becomes like a record of the analysis you've done. So if you did something correctly, incorrectly, what have you done, what haven't you done? If you press OK, you can't see those after that's done. But if you press paste and save it, right, you have like a record, paper record of the tests you've done, right? And it's simply you press paste, you get the syntax, you highlight it and click run. The same thing is OK, except you save your record. So we're saying that clicking OK is more expedient, but it may be hasty, right? It may be made in haste. So we are encouraging paste over haste, right? Electronic paper trail, right? Repeating the procedures. You could save it, open it the next day, repeat the procedures instead of, having to set everything up again, right? We will illustrate that in analysis. So that's that, okay? Now, recall the 7 steps. So we have looked at our core concepts. Now we can approach quantitative analysis. We can approach the 7 steps. And the first step is the study map. Okay, so we are now going to structure the study map based upon the study goals. So here's what we have, right? Recall, step 1, study map. That's what we're examining right now. Applying the study map to our sample study. So Einstein again. He said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And this is well said for our study map, okay? Because if you can't map out the relationships you're examining in the study, clearly by writing it down as a study map, you probably don't understand what you're examining that well, okay? So, stage of analysis, where the study variables, hypothesized relationships are all listed in text and diagram form, great for clarity and organization. So here's where we are, the contextual factors of our sample study. So the administrators of the Lots of Noise Pines Retirement Community Notice, residents are assigned about 50-50 morning and evening classes each month, right? So someone delivers passes into their mailbox. Half of them are for the morning, half are for the evening, right? They notice also that the evening classes are usually full. They're packed, right? So they think, if we assigned everyone evening classes, maybe more people would come. It seems like this morning-evening assignment is the real predictor of class attendance. So that's our independent variable. And I also believe like age, doctors prescribing class, how much do you enjoy the class, are also factors that impact attendance. So those are the covariate variables, right? So they're considering moving the classes to the evening, like we said. They want empirical findings, research findings, to support or dispute the decision. What they're really wondering is class time really the big predictor of attendance? Lastly, they want two things explained to them. They want to know what predicts the average number of days attended, in a week, as well as what predicts somebody coming to class at least 3 days per week, okay? So that's our dependent variable in continuous form, 1A, and categorical form, 1B. So here's our variables, right? So this is what we have for our quantitative analysis. All these data have been entered by the administrators in SPSS for us. Right? So these are the variables are entered. That's what we have for analysis. So 1, we have the number of days attended over the last month divided by, 4. So we have the average weekly attendance for each resident. We have whether the resident was assigned morning or evening classes for that day. Resident age, covariate variable 1. If the doctor prescribed classes, covariate variable 2. And they rated on a scale of 1 to 5. The residents, how much they enjoy the class, which is covariate variable 3, variable 5. So we're going to set these up in our study map. All right. So 1, research question 1A. Is the assigned time the strongest predictor, right? Research question 1A, the strongest predictor of the number of classes attended per week, right? Number of days classes are attended per week. The hypothesis is, as they said, the assigned class time is the strongest predictor of the number of days classes attended, per week. The dependent variable, the continuous number of days classes attended per week. The independent variable, the assigned class time. The covariates, age, doctor prescription, and class enjoyment, as we stated. And then we have it in a map form, right? A picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So here we go. We have it in a picture, right? So you could, as I said, the arrow that goes from one variable to the other denotes a main effect, right? A direct effect. So on the left, covariate variable 1, age, right? The arrow goes to the dependent, has a direct effect. The arrow goes to number of days, attending class per week. The same thing with doctor prescription, direct effect, number of days attended per week. Same thing with covariate variable 3, class enjoyment, direct effect, and then finally, after all those are controlled for, the independent variable is hypothesized to have assigned class time, the morning or evening, the biggest direct effect on number of days attended class per week. Right? Now, when we switch up the dependent variable to the categorical, right? Yes, no, attended 3 classes, yes, no, right? There's a little change, right? Not a major change, but a little change. So then the research question 1b becomes, is the assigned class time the strongest predictor of attending class at least 3 days per week? The hypothesis is that attending class time, the assigned class time is the strongest predictor of attending class at least 3 days per week. The dependent variable, attending class 3 days per week, and still the independent variable, the assigned class time, and then the same covariance. And then you'll see in the study map, the only thing that's changed is to the right under dependent variable. It now says attended class at least 3 days per week. Okay? Now, you may ask about 2 study maps. Right? So why 2 study maps? Why these 2 quantitative studies? Well, it's important to our learning because different statistical tests are used when the dependent variable is continuous or categorical. So by employing both study maps, the categorical and continuous dependent variable will illustrate how to conduct a study when faced with either scenario. Right? And we'll also see if the findings agree. So that's very interesting because sometimes they don't. So next week, right, so we did our study map. So next week, quantitative data analysis 2, we're going to implement step 4, 5, and 6, the actual descriptive and inferential quantitative statistical tests next week. Thank you for watching this week, and I hope you enjoyed it. All right, I'll talk to you next week. Okay, bye, everybody.